let's look at images a little more. Now, I'm going to just clear out everything I have in here, and I'm going to start again. So I'm just going to do clear, and if I do a file, I save and I refresh, that should have a blank page. Now, so let's assume that you want to make an image on your website and you want that image to be a hyperlink. Okay, so you want people to be able to see an image on your website. Then when they click on that image, you want to take them to another portion of your website. So let's combine our knowledge of links, hyperlinks, and our knowledge of images, and let's combine that in this video, and let's see how it works together. Because you see, everything you've learned so far in the course of this tutorial series now begins to come together. Most times when you write your HTML, you're using everything together. You're using your tables, you are using your links, you are using your images, you are using everything together. So let's begin to use everything together. So we are going to create an image right now, and we are going to make that image into a link. So how do you do that? Okay, let's do a H1. So I'm writing a heading tag, and I'm going to do image links, and I'm going to close out my H1, and let me give my H1 a little bit of styling by doing style equals, and let me give a font size of, let me do 80 px. Okay, and if I do a file and I save and refresh, I have image links. Okay, great. Now let me insert an image and let me make that image into a link. So in order to make a link, I want to do my anchor tag, and then I want to do my href, which is an attribute of the anchor tag, and I want to link to any URL or any other web page. Let me just link to, let's say I'm linking to google.com, and I close my href and I close out my link. So what I'm doing essentially is I'm creating a wrapper around my image, and that wrapper is going to be the link. So which means anything in between the starting of this anchor tag and the closing of this anchor tag becomes a hyperlink. So inside here, I'm going to just add my image, and then I go my image tag, just like we saw earlier. I just do my image tag, and then I can close out my image tag so I don't forget any tag. And then I have an attribute, which is a source where my image is located, and I do equals, and I do market.jpg, which is the location of my image, and I can do a width. Let me just give my image a width of, let's say, 250 px, and I give it a height of, let's do 300 pl 200 px, and I do a file, I save, and if I do a refresh, I have that image. And now watch, when you now click on this image right here, you see it takes you to google.com. So I'm just going to do a back button, and there you have it. I have an image which is now a hyperlink. Let's just make this a little bigger. I'm just going to do 450 right here, and I'm going to do 400 here. I'm going to do a file, I'm going to save, and if I do a refresh, I have that. So this becomes a link. So I have created an image which is a link. Now, what happens if I create an image which is a link, but for some reason during a page load, when the page loads on a browser in real life situation, something happens and this image becomes unavailable. Let's mimic that behavior deliberately. So I'm going to do another image by doing image href, and then this time around I'm going to link to https. I'm going to link to yahoo.com. I'm going to close that out. I'm going to close out my anchor tag, and then I'm going to start my image. So another image, my image tag, the source equals, and I have another image inside my folder called steps.jpg, but then I'm going to deliberately misspell these steps so that that image becomes unavailable. And then I'm going to do a width of 450 pixels. I'm going to do the height of 400 pixels, and I'm going to just close that out. I do a file and I save and I do a refresh. Now you see I have a missing image. So I have the first image here, which is the market. I have the second image here, which is the steps. But then I deliberately I deliberately misspelled the name of the file, and then this file becomes unavailable. So when anybody comes to your website and a file or an image file is missing like this, they kind of see that something is missing, but they don't know what is missing. Now, HTML provides a fallback for this kind of situation. And then for that, you can have an alternate text. So we have another tag attribute called alternate, which is an alternate text. And then I can just give it a name of, say, steps photo, so that if for any reason your image is not available, you can have this alternate text showing. So I can just do file, I do a save, and if I do a refresh, and then you see now that photo is not available, but instead of just having something blank, I can now see that I have this steps photo as the alternate text showing up right here. So when your image for any reason is not available, you can use the alternate text, and then your browser is going to show, or anyone coming to your website to see is going to see that, okay, this is, although the picture is not available, this is what this page is trying to give me. So you have the alternate text. So you can see that HTML is quite simple. You have tags, like you have your image tag, and then inside that tag you have tag attributes, which defines specific things that you want that tag to do. So you have the image tag, for instance, and then you have the source, which gives you the location of the image, and then you have the width of the image, you have the height of the image, you have the alternate text of the image, and this kind of gives you a concrete idea of the structure of HTML. But then, before we close, what if your image is not directly in your folder like this? Now, for this particular video and for everything we've done on images, we have just added everything inside the same folder as a root folder like this. But in a real life situation, you probably want to have additional folders on your site. For instance, you can have a folder for images, you can have a folder for your CSS, and you do a new folder for your CSS. And so anything that has to do with pictures in a real life situation will actually go into the images folder. This is just for organizational purposes. Now, if you have moved everything that has to do with pictures into your images folder, then that image that we referenced earlier now becomes unavailable. Why? Because the location of that image has now changed. So how do you now reference it? Well, you need to call up the name of the folder first, and then you need to do a slash, and then the name of the file inside that folder. So if you do a file and you save and you refresh, then you now have access to that image again. So you call up the name of the folder first, then the file, then the extension. So your image can be a PNG, it can be a GIF, that is a GIF, it can be a JPEG. And then once you get the extension correctly and you locate that image file correctly and you call it up, you will find out that you have that image showing up. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.